Once upon a time, in a quiet countryside, a young man named Jacob worked tirelessly on his family's farm. The land had been in his family for generations, and he poured his heart into it, planting, harvesting, fixing broken fences, and keeping the farm running even in the harshest of seasons. His best friend Samuel had grown up alongside him, watching him dedicate his life to the farm. They spent their childhood playing in the fields, dreaming about the future, and talking about how one day they'd both build something of their own. Samuel admired Jacob's work ethic, but noticed something else. Jacob was never truly appreciated. Jacob's father and uncles ran the farm, and while they knew he was hardworking, they never acknowledged how much he truly contributed. They assumed he would always be there, always working, always keeping the farm running. No praise, no real recognition, no real say in how things were done. One evening, after a long day in the fields, Jacob sat on the porch, exhaustion weighing on him. Samuel leaned against the railing, studying his friend's worn-out expression. "You look miserable," Samuel said. Jacob sighed, wiping sweat from his forehead. "I've been doing everything they taught me, working harder than anyone, making sure the farm doesn't fall apart. But it doesn't matter. I'm still just the kid helping out. I've spent my whole life proving my worth, and they don't even see it." Samuel was quiet for a moment before nodding. "Take tomorrow off." Jacob frowned. "What? Don't go to the farm, don't lift a single tool. Let's go into town, just one day." Jacob hesitated. He had never skipped a day's work. The thought of the farm running without him felt strange, even impossible. But something in Samuel's eyes told him to trust him. The next morning, for the first time in his life, Jacob didn't go to the fields. Instead, he and Samuel spent the day in town, watching life move on without the weight of the farm on his shoulders. But back at the farm, chaos. The irrigation system failed, and no one knew how to fix it. The cattle wandered too far without proper fencing, and harvesting was slower than ever. By the time Jacob returned, his father was waiting for him. "Where were you?" his father asked, frustration in his voice. Jacob crossed his arms. "I took the day off." His father ran a hand through his graying hair. "It was a disaster without you. Nothing ran right." A few days later, Jacob was given more responsibilities, more input in decisions, a slightly higher share of the profits. He had made himself noticed, and so he continued the pattern. When he felt ignored, he'd take a break. When he returned, the farm would be in shambles, and suddenly, his value would be acknowledged again. For months, it worked, until one day it didn't. Jacob returned home to find his father and uncles waiting for him. Their faces were serious. "We can't keep doing this," his father said. Jacob's heart pounded. "The farm is struggling," his uncle added. "We've had to sell land to stay afloat, and with you coming and going as you please, we had to make a choice." Jacob's stomach dropped. The farm, the only home he had ever known, was no longer his. His hands clenched into fists. "So, after everything I've done, you're just letting me go?" His father sighed, guilt flashing in his eyes. "We had to do what was best for the farm." Jacob turned away, his chest burning. He had given everything to that land, and in the end, it wasn't enough. He had fought for recognition, but he had never truly been valued. Samuel found him later, sitting by the old creek where they used to skip rocks as kids. "I lost it, Sam," Jacob muttered. "All of it." Samuel smirked. "No, you didn't." Jacob shot him a look. "You didn't lose a farm," Samuel said. "You lost a place where they never saw your worth." Jacob exhaled sharply. "That's supposed to make me feel better?" "It should," Samuel said, "because now you can build your own." Jacob stared at him, his mind reeling. "What if we start something new?" Samuel continued. "A farm. One where we make the decisions. One where your work is valued. One where we don't have to wait for someone else to decide we're worth something." For the first time in a long while, hope sparked in Jacob's chest. And that day, sitting by the creek, he realized he hadn't lost everything. He had been given a chance to start fresh. Months later, with the little savings he had, Jacob and Samuel bought a small piece of land on the outskirts of town. It wasn't much, but it was theirs. And this time, no one would take it away from him. If you have to constantly remind people of your worth, you're in the wrong place. Sometimes losing what's familiar is the best thing that can happen because it gives you the chance to build something where your value is never questioned. Have you ever fought for recognition in a place that never truly valued you? Maybe it's time to stop proving yourself to people who don't see your worth and start creating something that does. Have you ever had to walk away from something that wasn't serving you? Share your story in the comments. Like this video if you believe in knowing your worth. Share this with someone who needs this lesson today. Subscribe for more inspiring stories that remind you that sometimes the best endings are really new beginnings.